welcome back to the news at 10, reaching you live from here in Lagos. We're still in the mood of the elections, and I'm now being joined in the studio by an executive director of EIE, which is in office enough, Yemi Ademolekun. I want to thank you so much indeed. You're the executive director of your company. It's a non-governmental organization we hear. Now, you were part of the exercise. You went there. You have first-hand information about what has happened there with regards to the card reader exercise. What's your first impression?
The card readers worked. I think very simply, they worked well. I think the turnout wasn't as I personally would have liked. I think more people should have come out to actually test and see how it worked. But I think the objective was to see how people would, how the card reader would fare with people's PVCs, and they worked relatively well.
What does this mean for INEC?
I think it gives them a boost. I mean, there's been a lot of chatter around the challenges that could come with the card readers. But in terms of verification, they worked really well. I mean, there were a few challenges with people's thumbprints. So from those that I observed, either the thumbs were wet or their fingers were wet or dirty. But once they cleaned them, they were fine.
If we were to look at this a little further, some parties have advocated that this be boycotted by all means, fearing that this exercise will be one in futility. What can you say to those kind of respondents?
It's a bit confusing because before INEC decided to do this as a policy, they did consult all the political parties and they all agreed. They consulted all tiers of government and they approved, was why they got the money, the budget for it, to actually implement it. So now there were a few weeks to the elections that people are suddenly deciding that it's not what they want. It is a bit surprising. And the objective of this process was to give people a test. I mean, INEC had been testing them before, but this was the first time they were going to test them under election conditions. So it was 8 a.m. in the morning. They had the full retinue of staff, security deployed as well. So I would have thought that this would be a perfect opportunity for parties who had challenges or who had concerns about the process to actually mobilize their members en masse to actually come out and test it so they have proof of whatever their concerns are, but that was not the case.
Is this just across the two states, each from the 6 geopolitical zones in Nigeria? Do you have more information from other states? What happened?
Yeah, I mean, a partner of ours, YEAG, observed in Kano. For example, one of the things that affected turnout in Kano was there was a rumor that if you voted during this mock election, you won't be able to vote on actual election day. So people stayed away from that purpose. And I think the report around the country has been more or less the same. Low turnout, but the card reader worked in terms of reading the PVCs without a problem. And most of the challenges people had were in terms of the authentication with fingerprints that were for a variety of reasons. In some parts, for example, it was from people who were coming from the farms, so their fingers were a bit rough on the edges. People had henna painting on their hands as well. That was a bit of a problem. So there were some challenges that I think would easily be overlooked as long as you keep your hands clean and people are educated enough for election day.
Now, what would be your final conclusion as to this exercise? On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate it?
I would probably say a 6.5 maybe, but I think a big thing that all stakeholders need to do in the 3 weeks that we have left is education. So the process is not a problem, but at the end of the day, people are afraid of what they don't understand. So I think both from INEC's part, on civil society's part, education just needs to be, and the media as well, education needs to be stepped up a bit, just so people are aware of what is the objective, and they're not as afraid or apprehensive about it.
Yemi Ademolekun, Executive Director of EIE Nigeria, I want to thank you so much indeed for your time.
Thanks for having me.
Moving on to other stories now, the police in Anambra State have paraded 14 suspected criminals for sundry offences, which include kidnappings and armed robbery. Parading the suspect at the headquarters of the Special Anti-Robbery Squad, Akuzu. The State Commissioner of Police, Hassan Karma, says that many of the suspects have been arrested for kidnapping, one of which is the kidnap of a 78-year-old woman at Ebenebe in Awka North local government area of the state. He warns youth to desist from crime as police are combat ready to search them out wherever they may hide and bring them to justice. In a similar development, the Nigerian Drug Law Enforcement Agency, the NDLEA, Anambra Command also paraded suspect who smuggled 650 grams of Indian hemp to an inmate in the Onitsha prison. In all of these, the state governor, Willie Obiano, says that the state can no longer contain criminal activities, as his alliance with the security agencies in the past is paying off right now, having within the past 11 months over 40 kidnap dens have been demolished and several of the criminal suspects arrested and are now facing the law.
At the headquarters of the Special Anti-Robbery Squad, or KUZU, 13 suspects file out to be paraded. Most of them were arrested for kidnapping. According to the State Commissioner of Police, 3 of the suspects planned and executed the kidnap of one 87-year-old woman, Mrs. Virginia Arinze, at Ebenebe, Oka North local government area.
He said he's still, he does not snatch. This is one of his products that he stole, according to him. And that one there, you can see another car there. Come and stand by him.
According to Mr. Kama, the police secured the release of the woman, who is presently on admission, but not without a gun battle that led to the death of 2 of the gang members, with 3 members at large and 3 arrested. Several arms and ammunition were recovered from them. Away from the police, the NDLEA command in the state also paraded a suspect, Friday Amakwe from Abia State, who tried to smuggle 650 grams of Indian hemp to an inmate in Onitsha prison on the pretext that he was taking food to him. The state commandant, Sule Momodu, commended the Onitsha prison service for their vigilance.
You can imagine the people serving sentencing having access to cannabis sativa to smoke inside the prison.
Reacting to the overall security situation in the state, Governor Willie Obiano said his administration is happy with what the security agencies in the state are doing, especially with the demolition of over 40 kidnap dens in the last 11 months.
What I want to let everybody know is that the Operation Ochapo is still very active in Anambra State. The police, the army, the navy, and the civil defense, they are constantly on alert to address any robbery challenges.
With these efforts, the state administration says security of lives and property will remain close to its chest.
Well, criminals in Kogi State appear to be having a field day, but that may end soon. This indication was given by the state governor in Lokoja, the state capital, at the inauguration of a joint task force to tackle crime. Governor Idris Wada reiterated his administration's commitment to provide a safe environment for residents there. This came as the commissioner of police in the state explained the circumstances leading to the rescue of the American missionary who was kidnapped last week.
These are combined military personnel of the Army, Navy, Air Force and the police from the Kogi State Patrol Force for the first time in the state. They're specially drafted to drastically engage criminals in the state where the crime rate is perceived to have increased. As the Chief Security Officer of the state, Governor Idris Wada officially inaugurates the team.
For the benefit of the people of Kogi State and the glory of God Almighty. Amen.
The Joint Task Force also gets patrol vehicles. Hilux vans have been purchased by the government for this operation. This for the state government indicates its readiness to take the war against crime to the enclave of the criminals.
So let me assure you that the government will do everything possible to support you within our available resources. At the same time, I urge members of the public to support the task force, the joint patrol force, through cooperation by diverging relevant and timely information to appropriate security agencies.
Just as the inauguration is going on, reports came in that about 12 kidnappers dressed in military uniform had abducted 2 Chinese nationals at gunpoint at a project site in Lokoja. In the process, a police officer and the driver were shot and now receiving treatment at a hospital. The police commissioner also explains the efforts made to rescue American missionary Reverend Phyllis Salter from her abductors.
After a lot of pressure, they released her, and then they took to flight. No ransom paid, to the best of my knowledge. We know that she's not very stable as usual, but she's in a good state of health. The American doctor was with her, and I don't think there was any complaint of any type.
Kidnapping is a major crime in Kogi State. The Joint Task Force certainly has much to do as they settle down to work and ensure that criminals are rid of.
Now, if the current voter awareness in Nigeria is anything to go by, then there is no doubt that the voter apathy in the country will soon become a thing of the past. This is because more electorates in the country are now clamoring for active participation in the coming general elections. At the 28th posthumous birthday of the late sage and Democrat, Chief Obafemi Awolowo, in Ikenne, Ogun State, clerics challenged the state governor, Senator Ibukunle Amosun, to see to it that no eligible voter in the state is disenfranchised.
On the 6th day,
in the run-up to the 2015 general elections, religious leaders are asking for good leadership in Nigeria as a bedrock for development. And the 28th posthumous birthday of the late sage, Obafemi Awolowo, provided another platform.
We are yet to see another leader that can stand tall, that can stand for righteousness, that can stand for honesty, that will bring change, true change, meaningful change to the life of his people.
They want INEC to ensure a hitch-free electioneering process and a seamless distribution of the permanent voter cards.
I've not collected my PVC. I haven't. Because it's not just a matter of saying we support. We don't support words of mouth. It is the PVC that qualifies somebody to vote.
The State Governor Amosun reveals his desire to be a selfless leader like the late sage. He promises the electorate of unhindered access to the poll by ensuring that the franchise is protected.
I will do what I have to do, and I know that they must bring our cards for us because we are in the state, and we want to make sure that we participate in the forthcoming. It's our right, nobody can deny us our right.
And with the current level of voter awareness in Nigeria, it is expected that there will be more voter participation in the 2015 general elections in the state.
Well, achieving sustainable solutions in the communication technology industry with local content is dependent on available skills and capacity building platforms. This is according to the Minister of Information and Communication Technology, Mrs. Omobola Johnson, and Governor of Cross River State, Leah Lemoke. Both officials were speaking in Lagos at the 2015 dinner of the Institute of Software Practitioners of Nigeria, ISPON, where they were honored for their efforts in development of ICT in Nigeria. The organizers, led by an IT expert, Yele Okeremi, said that the event centered on the diverse opportunities in the oil and gas industry for software firms.
So the first gap we need to fill is the software development skills, and then the ability for those software developers to be not only developers, but to be also be part of an entrepreneurship team that would take that software and create a business out of it. So I would say the two gaps are really around the skills that we need for software development. And that's why when you hear the things that have been done, we're introducing software at the very early stages. Secondary school, primary school right now, secondary school, tertiary universities, because people that code or people that understand how to code are really going to be the future of this country.
In terms of the oil and gas sector, we're trying to position ourselves as a destination where services are efficiently delivered and where they are available. And that attracts investors. So the oil and gas industry, which is currently operating within the parameters that are looking for an area where you have reasonably good power supply, where you have capacity in terms of manpower, and where you have the necessary technology and support, are looking to invest in those areas. So that's what we're trying to attract.
Because we have huge opportunities in that area, it therefore means that we can develop a good software industry around oil and gas. And these things abound in every aspect of it, starting from seismography to exploration, that's upstream, even to downstream, marketing and development, refining. So pretty much if you really look at the life cycle of the entire thing, there are a whole lot of huge opportunities in the software space.
Hello, welcome to Business News. I'm Anne Nwawadu. Traders expect yields in the Treasury market to drop in the coming week on increased demand. And according to them, the recent run in yield expansion is gradually opening opportunities for bargain hunting for T-bills. However, price correction in the equities market on account of profit-taking on recent rallies and the need to lock into safer instruments as the elections draw closer could as well be bullish for T-bills. Also at the market, the central bank plans to issue treasury bills worth 995.5 billion naira for the second quarter of the year from March the 19th. According to its debt issuance calendar published on its website, the debt will have tenors of between 3 months and 1 year maturities. The CBN will sell 202.25 billion naira worth of the 3-month tenor, 236.81 billion naira worth of the 6-month tenor, and 556.46 billion naira worth of the 1-year tenor will be sold during the period. The bank also said 945.5 billion naira worth of treasury bills issued earlier will be due for repayment during the same period. The Debt Management Office plans to raise 95 billion naira through bond issuances next Wednesday. Now, the bond issuance will be in the 5-year, 10-year and 20-year papers. The 5-year is a reopening of 35 billion naira proposed, while the 10-year and 20-year papers are reopenings with 30 billion naira each. The bond is seen as a secured means of sourcing for long-term funds and finance infrastructural projects. Market turnover at the Nigerian equities market closed higher this week at 2.133 billion, valued at 24.3 billion naira. And the all-share index closed at 31,049.37, gaining 3.14%. The market capitalization also moved up 10.360 trillion naira. Zenith Bank topped the gainers charts with 3 naira 34 kobo. It comes ahead of UBA, which added 60 kobo to its share price, and Union Bank with 1 naira 66 kobo. On the decliners table, airline services and logistics dropped 29 kobo. USCN and Continental Reinsurance lost 85 kobo and 10 kobo each. Well, that's it on Business News. I'm Anne Nwawadu. The rest of the news at 10 continues in a moment.
And still ahead on the news at 10. Nigeria trashed Gabon 6-1 on aggregate to set up a crucial encounter against Zambia in the final qualifying round of the All Africa Games. That's on Sports News. Stay with us.